and welcome back to the channel. Today will be our first ever Star Wars character discussion, and it will be about my favorite Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Whew. Both masters to two Skywalkers, an absolute legend, and the undisputed general sarcasm. Whether he's talking to Anakin or facing down an enemy, he will find a way to make fun of somebody at their expense. Obi-Wan has been portrayed by three incredible actors. From episode 4 through 6, Sir Alec Guinness, Ewan McGregor from episodes 1 through 3, and of course from the Clone Wars, James Arnold Taylor, who has voiced many other characters besides Obi-Wan, but is most well known for his Clone Wars variation. Together, these three made an undeniable aspects of Obi-Wan. To have them be across so many different areas, whether it be the films, animation, whether it be the video games, always portraying this character as a very wise and a very humorous character, but also skillful. In a way, Obi-Wan is almost like a samurai living by the Bushido Code, strictly following the rules when he can, but also bending them slightly when he feels needed. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at his history and origins of where he came from. Obi-Wan was born on the planet Stujon. Though little is known about his family and early childhood, identified as a Force-sensitive at a young age, he was taken to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, where he trained as a Jedi initiate. Even early on, Obi-Wan showed discipline, curiosity, and a strong connection to the Force, traits that would help him stand out amongst his peers. His time in the temple laid the foundation for his lifelong commitment to the Jedi Code and his dedication to peace. As a Padawan, Obi-Wan studied under Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, a wise but unconventional Jedi, followed the will of the living Force over the strict Council doctrine. Their personalities clashed at times, Obi-Wan being more rule-bound and Qui-Gon being more independent, but they formed a strong bond. Qui-Gon taught Obi-Wan to trust his instincts, broaden his understanding of the Force. Their relationship became one of the most defining influences of Obi-Wan's life. Obi-Wan's first major trial came during the Phantom Menace when he and Qui-Gon protected Queen Padme Amidala and encountered Anakin Skywalker, a boy with an extraordinary Force potential. Though Obi-Wan was skeptical, Qui-Gon believed Anakin was the chosen one. Their mission ended in a duel with Darth Maul, during which Qui-Gon was tragically killed. Determined to honor his master's final wish, Obi-Wan defeated Maul and took Anakin as his apprentice. During Obi-Wan rose to the rank of Jedi Master and became one of the Order's most respected generals. He forged lasting bonds with Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Commander Cody, and led countless successful military campaigns across the galaxy. His relationship with Anakin deepened into a brotherhood. Despite their strong connection, Obi-Wan couldn't prevent Anakin's tragic fall to the dark side. When Anakin became Darth Vader, under Emperor Palpatine's influence, Obi-Wan's world was shattered. In the wake of Order 66, he went into the exile of Tatooine, watching over Luke Skywalker from a distance. Years later, he emerged to guide Luke for his first steps towards becoming a Jedi, ultimately sacrificing himself in a duel with Darth Vader aboard the Death Star. Even in death, Obi-Wan continued to guide Luke as a Force ghost, helping him and carry forward the hope of restoring the balance of the galaxy. Now we're at the portion of the video where I talk about my personal thoughts and opinions of the character. And first question we always got to ask on the channel, as we've been doing with previous discussions, is how was I introduced to this character? Well, I grew up with him. I watched it since I was probably 6. Let me get a little bit of Celsius. And around that time, I think I was 5 or 6 years old, and I remember living at this house at the time. It was rather big, had huge property. And we sat downstairs in this little area. It's kind of like an extra living room of sorts. And we just sat down there, and my dad had recently bought, at the time, the re-releases of the first 3 Star Wars movies. And I got introduced to not only those first 3 films first, then eventually I would go to watch episode 1, 2, and 3, and just see all the different stuff that Star Wars had. And I mean, at first I didn't really I really didn't get Obi-Wan as a kid, but slowly as I grew up, as I changed a little bit here and there, I started to understand the character a little bit more, and I really liked his very virtuous way of doing things, and of course his humor, as said before, and his interactions with Anakin is great. And so I guess that also takes us to our next question. What do I enjoy about Obi-Wan? I mean, besides his humor, his style of lightsaber fighting speaks so much about the character. If you know anything about Star Wars, you know that each one has a form of different fighting, and each form actually speaks on who the character is. And with that fighting style that he has, it's a more defensive. It's Form 3, and I forgot the specific name it was for. It's more of a defensive style rather than a offensive style. Only used to attack for, he only attacks as a counter rather than a tool to actually hurt somebody. When it's the exact opposite for, of course, his one of his Padawans, Anakin, as well. And which he does Form 5, I believe, Ataru? No, Ataru is Form 4, but I'm going to make a bunch of Star Wars fans mad if I go into this lightsaber forms. But Jimso, that one's Form 6. Teresu, something like that. It will sound like I'm saying tiramisu in a weird way. His lightsaber style, I like. The way he carries himself is somebody that has this competency about him that changes a lot of the situation in any moment, and especially being able to mask his concern, mask his problems, mask everything he can in any moment. It's like, I remember there's this interaction in the Clone Wars where he says something along the lines of, I'm able to mask this feeling better than you can, or something like that, because he's been in those situations before so many different times. And so that also brings us to our third question, and it's this: what do I don't enjoy about the character? I don't think it's necessarily the character himself, it's what he gets written into. I know at one point he was going to be written to be Rey's grandfather somehow. I could be wrong about that, and I think they changed it and made her a Palpatine, which is crazy. If you haven't seen those movies, I'm going to be careful with what I say, but personally for me, they're okay. Those films are okay. I prefer the first 6 films, and then hopefully we get some better films, and of course the TV shows are great. I like Kenobi, and a lot of people don't like Kenobi. personally made me feel a little bit more connected with Kenobi. Although everybody probably complains about this. That one Inquisitor lady, she sucked. Like, genuinely, she sucked. Like, the way he was... A lot of people didn't like the way he was written in that show, but it kind of makes sense why he would try to kind of hide away from his powers, because he kind of feels great shame for basically raising up somebody that would be a dark lord of the Sith. And on top of, I think in some ways, not only blamed himself, but blamed the Force in some ways. But I don't know. I'm not a story writer, so it just depends on how he's written. It depends on how he is portrayed or portrayed. It really does, because it's like, it's kind of hard to find some stuff that I don't like. But if I had to get into specifics, sometimes the humor's not great. Sometimes he kind of comes off like an arrogant putz. Sometimes he kind of just... there's moments where he kind of gets thrown under the bus a little bit. Like in episode 3 where he gets knocked out. And he's knocked out for a whole section. But it's like... it's not that long. It's like... I'm kind of nitpicking at this point. I'm not saying he's a perfect character. I will say, though, although it makes sense that he would be acting that way, it did get grating in the show to where it's like, okay, I can't really see him becoming the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan yet. And this is like right before his training with the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon while on Tatooine. So it's... Excuse me, I'm still kind of congested if you can't tell. It's been a couple of days since it started. It started like kind of yesterday, so if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. I'll have to go blow my nose in a little bit. Matter of fact, hold on one second. Alright, I'm back. So, where was I? Mainly, I think I was talking about Kenobi and how he was how his personality just kind of was grating at one point, and then eventually it got to the point to where, like, he kind of had to get over himself a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. Some of the stuff in Kenobi I don't like. I do like the aspect how it connects to episode 4, especially with Leia, although there's certain moments in there that are a bit odd, certain moments that are actually written pretty well. Some of the scenes with Leia where she's pretending to be Obi-Wan's daughter, in that one scene, she does, surprisingly, she's like the least grating character to me in that show. I know a lot of people are probably going to say, no, she's like extremely grating, but that's like a whole different thing there. But I kind of agree that his attitude does get a little, not only the word grating, but like asinine. It really does. It's like it gets to a point where, okay, you gotta start acting like your not like your usual self, but you gotta act like you're competent. Because if you get rid of one of the things that character is most known for, because Obi-Wan is a competent guy, and he messes up sometimes, but it's like he's a competent warrior. Why are you making him so scared of fighting? That's another thing I don't like now that I'm talking about. It's like Kenobi, I understand where he was at mentally, and he's still hurt over the fact that technically he just killed his adoptive brother. He technically could have killed his adoptive brother in the back of his head, and then hearing that the fact of, no, that adoptive brother is still around, alive, angry that you did that, and he's coming after you. I mean, I'd say that's a legit reason. It's like a reverse version of what happened with Jacob and Esau, because Jacob and Esau had this situation where Jacob ended up doing some horrible things to him in the past, taking his birthright, taking his father's blessing away from him, and then being ran out. Of course, Jacob being ran out by Esau, or the plot, or at least to plot. Esau plans to at least kill Jacob down the line, and then what's interesting is in that story, as I talked about in my Jacob discussion, is it's a reverse of what happens with Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's like, oh no, all is forgiven, everything's okay, you're my family now, and then to see the exact opposite happen kind of makes sense. It's a very interesting comparison for me, because it's like there's two different situations that are kind of similar, but also very different at the same time, due to the fact that one's about space wizards fighting with laser swords, and the other being about a guy and his brother having problems, which is pretty much... Because, yeah, anyway, I digress. Now, the question I also am left with, would I consider Obi-Wan a good character? Yes, if he's written well enough and it makes sense. Obi-Wan as a character, especially in the films and Clone Wars, is great. I found a lot of aspects in Kenobi great. However, like I've said before, his asinine, I feel like I can't do it attitude just kind of gets grating. So I'm at the point to where, okay, what do I do here with this? I'm not entirely sure. But he's still this same character that's learning to be, I guess in a way, learning to be himself again. Because when you get lost in that kind of despair, you lose yourself at the end of the day. You lose who you are, and it makes a lot of sense Obi-Wan would be acting this way. But it's like, at one point, you gotta be able to still pick yourself up, which he pick yourself up, but which he did later on, but it's like near the end of the show at this point in time. So you're not entirely sure what to think, you know? You don't know whether he should be at this point or not, at this point, and then it's near the end where it's like, okay, finally, I'm going to pick up a lightsaber and I'm going to start fighting. I'm like, it took you that long to do it? Seriously? You know? And I get why that's very grating and annoying for a lot of people. And so that also brings us to our final question. What do I hope to see for the future with this character? So I'm hoping we get a little bit more between him and Qui-Gon. If there's going to be a season 2 of Kenobi, which if they do, they should go into the training, how he learns how to become a Force ghost, how he becomes more of, reacquainted with his Force powers, reacquainted with himself, and starts practicing again. Because it kind of makes sense that he would be kind of at the bottom, not using his skills, because it's not like they're not as sharp as they used to be. Which I kind of got a sense of that at the final duel between Obi-Wan and Vader. By the way, still a fantastic duel, no matter what. It can't beat Duel of Fates, but it's almost. It's just got some aspects that are not great about it. Another thing that I hope for is not just great character work and great stories to be made, but also make sure Obi-Wan's Obi-Wan at the end of the day. I want to believe this version of Obi-Wan will become Ben Kenobi, the one that we know, the one that rediscovers himself and is old and regretful, but also wanting to do better for the next generation. And so, if we ever get to that point, I'd like to see a aged up Ewan McGregor with little bits of everything that would make him look like Alec Guinness. I'd like to see that. I know a lot of people would say, well, no, that's kind of degrading to the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan, but it's like, we don't have him anymore, and unfortunately he's gone, but it's like, he was an older guy back then. And so, I can't imagine not doing that. Because they do see, I mean, I'm just hoping we not only give Ewan McGregor some time with the character again, but also to expand upon the character through different scenes. And of course, if they have more time to make more animation stuff as well, maybe some expansion on that. Maybe the expansion on, like, okay, certain aspects of his life that weren't expanded upon, maybe make a movie out of that one book talking about how he trained with Qui-Gon, maybe seeing more of that. And I know a lot of people want to see more of the Old Republic stuff before, Obi-Wan and stuff, but I'd like to see a little bit more of who Obi-Wan is, or was going to be. Maybe explain a little bit more what his family life was on Stujon. Maybe find out who... How can I say this? Maybe find out more of who he could have become. I don't know. Honestly, I can come up with so many different ideas. I would like to see the character in more stuff that expand upon who he is. That's mainly it. And then how he influences the, next generation. Especially in episode 4. I don't know. I'd like to see a lot more of that. And hopefully see great stories be played out with that character. Obi-Wan isn't just an important character. He's the blueprint to flawed, wise mentors with a great and sharp sense of humor. His influence on many different parts of fiction goes across many countless characters. Sir Alec Guinness's portrayal, in particular, defined that archetype for generations. Personally, as I mentioned earlier, I enjoy every version of Obi-Wan. Each era shows his growth, his struggles, and the many people he impacted on both sides of the Star Wars universe and in the real world. Really glad we got to talk about my favorite Jedi today. And I definitely will cover more characters in the future if you guys want, of course, as usual. And maybe we'll even talk about one of my other favorite Jedi, his master, Qui-Gon, or maybe even Anakin himself. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I know it's a bit of a weird change to see me go from my phone to this. I'm wanting to learn a little bit more on how to get better quality. I know it's not exactly the quality I could get on my phone usually, but I'm going to work with it. I'm going to see what I can do, and more importantly, when I'm having discussions about space wizards with laser swords, that'll be... I want to make sure it's good quality. And with that also being said, thank you again for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you really enjoyed it. And don't forget to ring the bell to be notified of future uploads so you don't miss any other future videos. Thank you again. I'm out. Peace.